on air or online, and listen to WTIM Ag podcasts anytime.
Hi, I'm Bob Reddings of the Bob Reddings family of dealerships. See our huge inventory of about 2,000 vehicles by clicking on our ad at TaylorvilleDailyNews.com.
WTIM. You're listening to the WTIM Morning Show on your information station, and it's sponsored by People's Bank and Trust, where they put people first. I'm your host, Reed Kamai, and of course, we're getting into the into what's feeling like summer. I think it's been feeling like it already, and that includes the need for some safety reminders, especially when it comes to kids in the outdoors, and within that, especially when it comes to the aquatic areas that exist around the area. And we're going to talk about all of that and much more with Valerie Belusco, a community and economic development educator at the University of Illinois Extension. Valerie, good to talk to you again.
Good morning. How are you doing?
Yeah, doing okay. And it's good to hear from you as we get things going here on the morning show. So you and I were talking a little bit about this, and in terms of some of those concerns, it sounds like you folks at the extension actually have a partnership with one of these organizations to help educate the community, educate the folks you interact with. Just talk a little bit about that for our listeners and how that kind of bolsters what you folks do in this regard.
You're right. So safeelectricity.org is a campus project, and they partner quite a bit with U of I Extension. And so community and economic educators like myself, sometimes we will pull some pertinent information, just some community reminders, and make sure that we're sharing those out during times where, kids start to get excited, adults start to get excited about the beautiful weather and taking advantage of that. We always want to make sure that our communities are safe. We always want to make sure that we're thinking about things that sometimes slip our minds. And so today, is just kind of going over those little tips that will help keep your family and your kiddos safe during the summer, which is right around the corner. And one of the things that, I've been thinking about personally is being safe around water. Now, I don't know about you guys, but last night we had nothing showing on the radar. And around 2:30, it started pouring this morning. And we got about an inch of rain in my area. And, it always makes us think of going back to our childhoods, splashing in puddles and playing in creeks. And, when you get that much rain that fast, it can be a lot of fun. Now, of course, not at 2:30 in the morning when it happened, but it certainly makes me think of that. And so it's always something fun in the summer, but there are things that, we want kids to make sure that they know about and that they're thinking about and they're really watching. So, everything from pools to puddles, we have to make sure that we're talking to kids and making sure they understand what's safe and what's not. And so one of the things that we can really tell them is it may look like fun to play on a flooded street or a water-filled ditch, but those are great places for fallen power lines to hide or damaged electrical equipment to actually be putting out pulses and energy, and that could cause serious injury or death. So while we may want to go out there and play right away, an adult really needs to know about that. An adult really needs to kind of supervise or let kiddos know if they think it's safe to go out. I don't want to take all the fun away from these kids because I had some of my best childhood memories doing that. But adults will be able to tell kids if that is safe, if they think that it's something that maybe has a hazard, maybe they should watch and maybe go play somewhere else, go do something else. So keeping that in mind can be very important.
Yeah, no, those are all great points to make, and I'm glad you talked about like the possibility of you having those power lines that are down and ending up in a puddle, because like I mean, I never really played in puddles when I was a kid, but like I also never really heard any sort of talk about that what you just said there. So yeah,
Yeah.
definitely worth noting. And yeah, in terms of actually our timing with talking about this is quite impeccable with the weather we had overnight. I know here in Taylorville we had the downpour when you described, and then it was also right around midnight when the tornado warning happened. So we got some of that as well. And I don't know about you folks, where you are, Valerie, but yeah, that's what happened, and it's worth talking about there with the puddles and playing outside. I know it's something that I think we were talking about a little bit right before we got on was talking about the danger with electrical currents and water, also in marinas. And I know some people are going to be out on the boat. Some people might have a boat, and the 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 saying is not to swim at the marina, near where all the boats are parked. Explain a little bit about why that is.
Well, so, as a kid, when my parents owned a boat, and I had some friends that had boats, and as soon as you get to the marina, you want to hop in the water, right? You want to put your feet in the water. You want to do something. You're ready to go. You're just itching to get in there. But the marina is not for swimming, and it is not for playing. And you have to be incredibly safe when at the marina. And so, there can be things called electric shock drowning, which is what happens when you have a current of electricity running through the water. And marinas often have lots of different things hooked up um, for various reasons. And, it can take something as silly as a squirrel chewing through a line the night before that you're not aware of. And sometimes it's just a little pulse of electricity. Sometimes it's a big pulse of electricity. But you have to learn about that. You have to know about that. And you have to know that, you really don't want to get into the water then. You also have to think about all the carbon monoxide poisoning that can come out from boat exhaust. There can also be contaminated water that can happen from storms, or it could just happen from oil leaks and gas spills that are coming off of the boat. And then you have to think about the boat and its propellers, people moving things in and out. And so kids just need to be aware that, when they get to the marina, what they really need to do is listen to adults, stay on the dock until it's safe to get into the boat, and then stay on the boat until they get to a safe spot where they can get out into the water safely.
Yeah, all great reminders there with marinas. I don't know if I've actually ever gotten onto a boat at like a marina. So yeah, quite actually relatively new to me as well. A question I do have. So I know a lot of folks, especially around here with the Taylorville Lake and the one that is, well, yeah, Taylorville Lake. They might have a house with a like one of those floating docks, and so the dock has like just their boat and it's kind of their property, as opposed to like a marina that has a lot of boats. And is there a difference kind of with that and like swimming next to that dock as opposed to a marina that has more boats?
It really depends on how you have things set up. If you have some kind of electrical outlets out there, you definitely want to be safe and very cautious. You want to check the wiring frequently. Some people have that for various reasons. Sometimes it's just to provide light out there. Sometimes it's actually for something to do with their boat. A lot of people don't have their dock um, hooked up to electricity of any sort. And so then it can just be something fun. But you have to remember that, that's a shallow area. And so you never want to dive off of the dock. You want to be very careful. You want to be cognizant that, sometimes there can be brush that might have kind of washed ashore that might be under there, sticks, things like that. So get in carefully, kind of swim around, feel what's down there, and then you can really play and maybe jump off. But again, jump, not dive.
Jump, not dive. Oh, I've said that plenty of times to other people. That's not been relevant to myself. Actually, I don't even jump into into water. So I get that one indeed. I'm talking right now with Valerie Belusco, Community and Economic Development Educator at the University of Illinois Extension, about some summer safety tips, especially when it comes to water. Let's take a break, and when we come back, I'll talk more about that because there's plenty else to get to, I'm sure. And we'll talk about that right here on the WTIM Morning Show on your information station.
Your information station. WTIM.
Markets on the RFD Radio Network. I'm DeLawes Yonke. Grain and soybean futures this hour pretty quiet. Soybeans have actually moved a little bit lower as we go through the morning. July corn down 2 3/4, 416 1/4. September down 3 1/4, 424 1/2. December down 2 3/4, 444. July beans down 5, 1118. August down 4 3/4, 1123. November down 3 3/4, 1134 3/4. July wheat down 2 1/4, 585 1/4. KC up 2 1/2, 633. Livestock, July lean hogs are down a nickel, 96.80. August live cattle up 65, 242.15. August feeders up 212, 356.50. Crude up a dime. The Dow up 265. This is the RFD Radio Network.
My name is Jackie Metzger, and I am a Heartland CASA volunteer advocate. When a child enters foster care, their world can change overnight. They may face new homes, new schools, and uncertain future. As a CASA advocate, I become a constant voice in their corner, listening, supporting, and helping ensure their best interests are heard so they can have stability in their life. One caring adult who shows up can change a child's story. Will you be the one who shows up? Learn more about becoming a CASA volunteer advocate at iheartcasa.org.
Hi, I'm Drew Peabody with First National Bank on Spresser, and I've got great news for future homeowners. Through the Federal Home Loan Bank's Down Payment Plus program, qualified buyers may receive grant funds to help with their down payment and closing costs. That means less out of pocket and a faster path to owning your home. If rising upfront costs have been holding you back, this program could make all the difference. Give me a call today at 287-2003. Let's open the door to your new home together. First National Bank on Spresser, the quality bank. Equal housing lender.
Nicole Patrick here, your local country financial representative at 1305 West Bresser in Taylorville. I'm proud to recognize the Lady Tornado student athletes that represent our community by being the exclusive sponsor of the ILSportswire.com Taylorville Lady Tornadoes Player of the Game this school year. At the end of each game, a Lady Tornado will be selected to receive a certificate for being named our Player of the Game, and they'll be featured in a highlighted reel on the ILSportswire.com social media platforms. Best of luck to all the girls' teams this season, and go Lady Tornadoes!
I'm Police Chief Andrew Pistorius with the Sullivan Police Department, here to talk about a topic no one wants to discuss, depression that many times leads to suicide. When a person is going through such feelings, many times family and friends don't know how to help, but there is help. If you feel depressed or lonely, there are many resources to help you. Call a trusted relative, friend, or minister, or call the Suicide Prevention Lifeline toll-free at 800-273-TALK. That's 800-273-TALK. All of us are here to help.
WTIM.
Welcome back to the WTIM Morning Show on your information station. It's sponsored by People's Bank and Trust, where they put people first. I'm your host, Reed Kamai, and I've been talking with Valerie Belusco, Community and Economic Development Educator at the University of Illinois Extension. Valerie Belusco, that's the name there. I think my voice cracked the first time I said that just now. And we've been talking about summer safety in aquatic spaces, be it pools or open water near marinas or whatnot. And we were talking a little bit, Valerie, during the break about some things that families and kids can kind of check for anytime they go into a body of water where there might be things to look for. And I'd love for you to share that with our listeners as well, as I think that would be quite useful.
Right. So sometimes, we're checking for things like what we talked about earlier, checking for something that might have fallen in a puddle. Other times, we're at a lake and we're checking around a marina. Sometimes we're at home and we're at a pool at home, and there are always things that can happen there as well. So a lot of these conversations and a lot of these things we want to think about is just safety around water and making sure that kids are aware of what's around them. Adults too. Adults always need to make sure that they're checking their equipment, that they're making sure they're keeping cords away from the water, that outlets are GFCI protected and tested, that they're covered outlets, and that, kids understand that it's not always safe to handle phones, tablets, that kind of things that are charging on cords when you're wet, and to keep them away from water areas like pools, spas, even sinks if they're in the house. And then it's also important that they know what to do if there is an emergency and something happens. So making sure that your kid understands how to call 911 can be incredibly important. So having those conversations, starting those conversations young, is always a good idea. Even helping them understand maybe where breakers are and what breakers do. If something were to happen, maybe you're in a pool at home and for some reason something happens and you have an electric cord that falls in the water and it's charged. What do you do? I think kids are automatically going to think, I need to hop in and save someone, right? They want to help. That's their first thought. But they have to understand that helping in that situation means staying out of the water and staying away from the water, turning off the power and calling 911 as soon as possible. And then once they call 911, the responders that answer the phone will be able to tell them if there's anything that they can do to help before emergency personnel get there, or if it's best for them to just stay back and wait for emergency personnel. But it's always best to wait and hear from the experts on the other end of that call before you try to do anything yourself. So very important conversations to have with kids this time of year.
Yeah, no, that's very important stuff, and stuff that I haven't really heard all that much about in the past myself. So I think it's worth talking about it here, and just some tips that maybe people don't think about, but clearly should in the interest of safety. Some good tips there from Valerie Belusco at the University of Illinois Extension. So. That's what to look at, for water in general. Any other pool safety tips that you have to share for folks, especially with those indoor pools that folks should know about as we're into the summer and we've got about 2.5 minutes to go?
So if you're going to be around pools or water in general, make sure you're choosing battery operated and waterproof radios and speakers. That can be a great way to still enjoy the sound that you want to hear while making sure things are safe. Again, don't handle any phones or tablets while you're wet, while they're plugged in. Make sure that if you have guests over, if you have a pool, or if you have guests over and you're at the lake and they're not really familiar with the area or just water safety in general, make sure you give them some tips before you get too far into your day. Sometimes even if you have maybe nieces and nephews or your kiddos have friends that are coming over, making sure they know where the electrical shut off in case something happens is always really important. A lot of times we remember to tell our own children, but sometimes it's our own children that might be in the pool that might need somebody else to shut that off. And so, older kiddos are often out there by themselves without a whole lot of adult supervision. I'm thinking teenagers. And so making sure those kids know where that electrical shut off is so important. So have those conversations, have them with your kids, have them with your kids' friends and relatives, and make sure you have a really safe and happy and healthy summer.
Yes, a lot of good tips there, and in addition to having the happy and healthy summer, but also those safety tips as well, and talking about that with other folks. We're into the final minute here. Where can folks get more information online?
So one of the great sites to check out is safeelectricity.org. You can find a lot of information there. You can always find a lot of information too if you just go to University of Illinois Extension and look up Christian County. You'll see the different programs that we're offering currently. You'll learn a little bit about all of the educators here within our unit and things that we're doing. So reach out to us at any time.
Yeah, you folks have a lot of great programs going on really all year long. Valerie Belusco, Community and Economic Development Educator at the University of Illinois Extension. Valerie, thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you for listening here on the WTIM Morning Show on your information station. Have a great day.
The Big 870 WTIM Assumption Taylorville.
96.1 FM Taylorville.
107.5.